Smart Homes for Grandma. This is episode number 9. We teach you the best devices that will help your elderly grandparents live independently or with assistance.
Welcome to the 1 Hour Smart Home Podcast,
helping you make your life better
using automation and technology, with your host, James Both.
Hi, this is James here with the 1hoursmarthome.com. Go ahead and check out our website, 1hoursmarthome.com, for tips, tricks, and reviews on smart home systems, as well as if you're building a new home, we can help you plan that out. Or if you're planning on doing a built-in sound system, we can absolutely help you with that. Get the right layout to make sure that you're optimizing sound quality, which is going to become really important with the new Sonos by Sonance built-in speakers coming out. So we're going to have some posts on that on the website. But if you're building a new home and want to make sure that you get the layout right with your builder, give us a call, send us an email at 1hoursmarthome.com, and we can help you out with that. All right, so I've wanted to do this episode for a while. The reason being is I've gotten a lot of questions from friends, family, and listeners about using smart home technology with an elderly grandparent. I'm very fortunate to have a grandparent in her 90s, which is amazing and awesome. And actually, my dad brought up using some smart home technology to make things a little bit easier for her, to make him checking up and providing care and helping her out a little bit easier, and being able to make sure that she's okay or if she needs to call someone, simpler to do, even if she wasn't close to a phone. So that's going to be part of what we talk about today. But really what I want to focus on for smart homes for your grandparents or elderly parents is simplicity. That is the most important thing when we are looking at integrating technology for someone that is a little bit older. We don't want to make it so they have to learn a whole bunch of new passwords, they have to learn a whole bunch of new technology. We want to integrate solutions that are going to be very simple to use and intuitive so that somebody doesn't have to go learn a whole bunch of new systems, have remote controls and all that kind of stuff. We want to make it very easy to do. So what we're going to talk about is some of the problems that an elderly person might face when aging and how a smart home device can be a solution for that. So one of the things a friend contacted me about was an elderly grandparent that's beginning to have issues with vision. So TV watching was going down a little bit, as well as just kind of getting around was becoming more difficult. So this grandparent wanted to be able to listen to music more often and didn't want to have to search for, buttons on a radio, really small numbers, power buttons. For whatever reason, if you look at a lot of electronic devices, the power button is this super small button and it's in like size 6 font, which makes not a lot of sense. So it can be difficult for someone that has vision problems to be able to control some devices because they can't even find the power of the volume button. So that's one issue. Another issue when you're dealing with elderly grandparents is potentially mobility issues. You just don't get around like you used to when you're a little bit older. So we want to focus on limiting falls and making controllability and accessibility easy. So if a furnace or thermostat is located on a second floor, but the grandparent lives on the first floor, that's going to be a challenge sometimes for that grandparent to go up and down the stairs. And we want to make it easy for them to be able to adjust the temperature or the thermostat without needing to go up and down the stairs, or even get around the house, just to make it a little bit easier. So when we're able to prevent an elderly person from walking around, we obviously can prevent some of the hazards with falls. Now this is two parts. Falls is just trying to make it so that they don't have to go places where there is a potential fall hazard, like up and down stairs, but also being able to provide a better way for someone to see. So being able to turn on the lights at night without walking across the room in the dark, or this is a big one, turning off the lights, then it's dark and that grandparent has to walk across the room with dark lights, and that can be a fall hazard if there's slippers or shoes or something on the floor potential trip hazard. So trying to make it that they could turn on and off their lights from their bed so that they don't have to walk through a room with dark lights. And that's not just the bedroom, that's any room. So we've got a couple solutions for those. And then one other item is actually for caregivers. So a lot of times, if there's a grandparent that's living independently, you might have a caregiver. You might be the primary caregiver, or they might have some assistance cleaning weekly, getting a meal delivered, obviously having maintenance or handy people there to fix whatever issues are going on. So how can we get them access without you being there and not worry about keys getting lost? So that's what we're going to talk about. Those are the problems. Now, what are the solutions? So for the situation where a grandparent is losing or has lost a lot of vision, and they're going to be focused more on sound, really a good product is an Echo or the Echo Show. And I'm going to get to why I recommend the Echo Show, even though it's got a screen on it later. But with the Echo or Echo Show or any Alexa product with Echo built in, you're going to be able to listen to music, pull up the newscasts, pull up this podcast as well, and all kinds of different audio streams that are going to allow that grandparent to have an activity that they enjoy, whether it be listening to radio, music, a newscast, a podcast, or even audiobooks. So the audiobooks are typically narrated when you get them from Audible. They can play straight through the Alexa devices, or the audiobooks can also, you can actually use a Kindle book and turn it into an audiobook. It won't be narrated with the same voice that the audiobook is, but you don't have to pay extra for the audiobook. So Alexa will read any text Kindle book for you for free through the device. It's not narrated with a human voice, it's narrated with Alexa's voice, but it's a really good way to save a little bit of money and turn those ebooks that you might have into audiobooks without needing to purchase the audiobook. So you've got the entertainment focus with the Alexa or Echo, the Echo or Echo Show. But this is really going to be the center of how your grandparents going to be able to control their home. And in the background, I've got an Alexa going off like crazy. Alexa, off. I should have muted it before I started the podcast here. Hopefully I didn't yell too loud into the microphone. But, you know, we're looking at this as an entertainment center, and we're also looking at this as the control system. What's nice about the Alexa devices, the Echo devices, is that you can do all the control with just voice. And they're always on, always listening for your commands. So a grandparent doesn't need to find the volume button. They don't need to find the power button. And they don't need to have a whole bunch of remote controls. They can just use their voice. It's just like talking to somebody. It's very intuitive. So that is why we recommend this as kind of the starting point. Now, I'm going to talk about the checking in caregiver issue here with the Echo and the Echo Show, and a reason that someone I know was considering this and ended up getting an Echo Show. So if you are wanting to check up on your grandparents, or if you want to communicate with them, obviously you can use a cell phone, you can use a landline phone, or the third option is you can use an Alexa. So with the cell phone option, you run into the fact that the grandparents are always going to have to be charging it. They may not want a cell phone, or they may not want to use a cell phone or learn how to use a cell phone. So it's not always the ideal way to communicate with a grandparent. The next option is a built-in phone. And here you've either got the cordless telephones, which still need to be charged every once in a while, which could be a problem for a grandparent. Or you need to have they need to go pick up the phone wherever it's centrally located if it's hardwired. So not always a great option either for that. Now the third option for communication with Alexa is going to allow you to use your voice, or your grandparent is going to be able to use their voice to communicate directly with you. When you have an Alexa device and your grandparent has an Alexa device, they're basically going to be able to say, Alexa, call my grandkids, and it's going to go right to the grandkids, or Alexa, call my son, and it's going to be able to go right to the son or the daughter and call you so that you can communicate through Alexa. So they can call you and you can call them. So if you want to check in on grandma, you could say, Alexa, call grandma. And it's going to allow you to call them just with having two Alexa devices. Now, if you have an Echo Dot or an Echo, you're going to allow voice communication. If you have an Echo Show or an Echo Spot, those are the two Echo devices with screens on them, and they have video cameras built in, it's going to allow you to have a two-way video chat. So we actually connected this for my grandma so that we have two-way video communication through Alexa. So my parents have one, I have one, and my grandma has one. And it allows us to communicate just by saying, Alexa, call grandma, or grandma can call us. And what's really nice about this scenario is that she doesn't have to get from room to room or pick up the phone to answer this, because you can put multiple Echo devices or Alexa devices in different rooms, and they'll all be able to be used as a phone when the call is accepted, and you can do it all with voice. So no more needing to go to the phone, no more needing to know where the phone is or make sure it's charged. So this is a great option for communication. Now, another thing for caregivers, or if you are the caregiver, is getting access, right? So, a lot of times people used to hide keys under the doormat. That's not always a good option because somebody can find that key and obviously break in, and you don't want that. You may have caregivers or people that are coming just temporarily that you don't necessarily trust, and you don't want to give them a key, or somebody could make a copy of it. So a product that we recommend for grandparents, which is very easy to use, it works just like a normal deadbolt, is smart locks. There's a couple different options. In the show notes, we're going to post some of those. The two favorite options that I have are the Nest X Yale lock and the August Yale lock with a touch screen. So there's a Yale August lock and there's a Yale Nest lock. Why I like these devices, they both have touch screens, so it's very easy. You just put a code in, a 4 to 8 digit code, and the door is going to unlock. But what's great is that you can change the codes of these devices from your phone remotely. So if you want to give a caregiver temporary access, you can do that for 24 hours, 2 days, a week, or only during certain times of the week. So if they have a cleaning person comes over at 1 o'clock every Tuesday, you can make it so that the lock is only going to accept their code from 1 p.m. till 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. So this is a great option for making it easy to have other people to be able to access that grandparent for providing care. Now, what else is nice about this is that, let's say you have a neighbor, or they have a neighbor that, you just want to have them go over and check, or you have a friend that's going to go check on your grandparent while you're out of town. You can give them a code very easily just to go and check on them without having to worry about keys or keys being lost. So that is very effective and a way that is helpful for you to get access in and out without needing to worry about a key. The other thing about the smart locks is that you can set them to auto lock. So you don't have to worry about somebody forgetting to lock their door. You can set it to auto lock after a minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And that will allow the door to remain locked even when somebody forgets it. So that is another good feature. Now we're getting on to mobility issues and falls. So for mobility issues, one of the things that we want to talk about is, what can we do? It's always good for an elderly person to move around, but you want to make sure that it's in safe spaces where falls can be prevented or limited, or they have something to grab onto and walk around. You don't want them unnecessarily just walking around, tripping over things, or trying to get from point A to point B in a hurry for whatever reason it is. So with mobility issues, there's part of it is lighting to make sure that they've got a nice visual pathway for wherever they're going to go to prevent a fall. And the other one is just making things easier. And this doesn't just go for grandparents, this goes for anyone. When you can make something easier, it's always a good idea. So a smart thermostat is great for mobility issues because a grandparent can then just tell Alexa through connecting your Nest thermostat to Alexa. And we've got another episode entirely on connecting devices to Alexa, so go ahead and listen to that. But connecting your thermostat to Alexa will allow the grandparent to adjust the thermostat to the appropriate temperature with just their voice. So they can be laying in bed and say, Alexa, set the heat to 65. Alexa, set the heat to 75. And why this is good is because in the middle of the night, if that person is cold, they don't have to get out of bed in the dark to try and find the thermostat to turn it on or off. They can just do it right from their bed using their voice. So this does help prevent mobility-related injuries such as falls or accidents from somebody tripping over something in the dark. So this is a great way to prevent those. Also, it's nice that you as a caregiver or a child or a grandchild can check in and just make sure everything is going okay, that the heat's not too low, that there's the air conditioning is not too high, that everything is kind of going okay on those really hot or really cold days. You can just quickly pull up on your phone and say, okay, well, it's 102 outside. Don't worry, it's only 65 in grandma's house. Or, oh my gosh, it's negative 20 degrees out and it's 40 degrees in grandma's. What's going on? Is her furnace out? And these can be real issues. You always read about people, a lot of elderly people having problems when there are heat waves or when there are cold streaks, and being able to just check in and make sure everything's good with their heating and cooling system can really just give you a lot of peace of mind. So we recommend that as well. Now, the last thing that we're going to cover is smart light switches. Now, this ties into the mobility issues and falls issue. And how it ties in is that if somebody wakes up in the middle of the night or they're going to sleep, they are going to turn the lights off and then go get into bed. Well, it's possible if they've got poor vision or just generally over time, it can be more difficult to move around the house. You're asking someone to navigate their home in darkness because they have to turn the light switch off with their hand and then walk across a room. This could be a bedroom, this could be a kitchen, this could be a living room. Maybe the grandkids came over and they left some toys on the floor accidentally and they've never been there before and grandma trips over them because she doesn't see them at night. So a good way to prevent this is you can get smart light switches. I'm not talking about smart plugs. Those are great. But what I don't like about smart plugs in this instance is that if they were to not work for whatever reason, the grandparent has to bend down and go find where that plug is and turn it on or off or unplug it. And we don't want to make that something hard for them to do. With a smart light switch, even if the internet's off, it's still going to work like a normal light switch. It's going to be where the light switch normally is. And with the smart light switch, they're going to be able to lay in bed or be in a room, walking from room to room, and tell Alexa to turn on or off the lights. So let's say they have to get out of bed in the middle of the night to use the restroom. They can say, Alexa, turn on the lights, and they don't have to make that walk to the restroom in the dark. Or when they're going to sleep and they've left lights on in the kitchen or living room, they don't have to walk out there when they're tired. It's been a long day and a high probability of having some kind of an accident or trip hazard. They can just be laying in bed and say, Alexa, turn off the lights in the living room. Alexa, turn off the lights in the kitchen. Or they can be laying in bed and say, Alexa, turn off the lights in the bedroom. And then they don't need to worry about traversing a room in darkness. So this is one of those things that ties into fall prevention and mobility issues. And all of these commands are using voice. So there's not really anything that this grandparent needs to learn other than voice commands. and making the names of switches, thermostats, smart locks very easy to remember and what they would already call them is going to make it much easier for them to use the systems. So when you're looking at implementing a smart home system or some select smart home products for a grandparent or elderly relative, the things that we recommend are an Echo or Echo Show. If you want communication with them and you want to have video communication, go with the Echo Show. A smart lock to allow caregiver access using codes. A smart thermostat like the Nest or Ecobee to allow control of those from a phone, but more primarily voice. And smart light switches. And you don't have to do smart light switches everywhere, but just in a couple main rooms, typically living room, kitchen, and bedroom and bathroom that they're going to be most often using. So those are the primary devices we want, and all these things can be controlled with voice. Now, a tip if you are planning on implementing this is to make some flashcards with voice commands or like a menu of voice commands, and just make a copy of that for grandma or grandpa. And, you can laminate it, but just put the main commands on there. Like, Alexa, turn up the heat. Alexa, set heat to 72. Alexa, turn off living room lights. Alexa, lock the door. And having these commands just readily available, maybe put one on the bedside nightstand, the living room, and the kitchen. Just make a couple copies of this. Is going to make it a lot easier for your grandparent to use the system and understand it. There is some syntax you have to use when invoking Alexa commands, and having those written down is going to make it a lot easier and make it so that this system is accepted rather than rejected by the grandparent. So we're going to have a follow-up episode on this and answer some more of the questions that have come up. But we've got a good basis for you to start planning your smart home for a grandparent or elderly relative or even your parents, and also a couple tips for communicating with your family via video chat or the Alexa or Echo products. So if you want to support us, visit us at onehoursmarthome.com. In the show notes for this podcast, episode number 9, we're going to have all the links to the products that we talk about. If you want to support us, you can click on those links. We do make an affiliate commission on those, so we always appreciate it when you go to the show notes and then purchase something on Amazon. It does help support this show. Or you can go online and get our products at Amazon. Just search onehoursmarthome.com and you're going to see some of the products that we have listed there. So thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And please keep sending us your questions so we can have great content for you in the future.
Thank you for listening to the 1 Hour Smart Home Podcast. We love our listeners and your feedback. Subscribe to our email list at onehoursmarthome.com, where we share with you the best smart home technology, the latest reviews, tips, and tricks to make your life better. And with that, we'll catch you in the future.